you so much. Thank you so much for having me. I am so honored to be able to call myself the co-founder and executive director of this organization because it's changed my life and it continues to change my life. And the journey of it has been the journey of me, and it's one big, uncomfortable love fest, and I'm really, really grateful. So there's a quote that means the most to me right now in life. It's on the signature of my email, and it says, "You yourself, more than anyone in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection," which has been this thing that I've really been trying to grasp in this stage of life. And I will say that the first day that I realized that I didn't know my worth, that I didn't feel like I was enough, was actually the best day of my life, because I met this girl. Alexis Jones. I don't even have to, you guys know already. This is great. So we're at a party, and I walk up to her and I shake her hand, and some divine electric shock happened inside of my solar system, and and the world was never again the same. Well, my world was never again the same. So to kind of backtrack a little bit, I grew up with a ton of friends, and I was really, really good at being this big, bold, energetic light for the world, and I was everybody's best friend, and I was everybody's shoulder to cry on, and I was class president and homecoming queen and Little Miss Social Chair of my sorority, and I was everything for everyone, and I loved it. Nothing made me happier than being that, and that was all good and fine, except the only problem was when I moved to LA to pursue acting about 6 years ago now, I found myself alone for the first time. I didn't know anybody, and I realized very quickly that the pursuit of acting as a career and acting are two very different things, and the industry wasn't really inspiring me. And I found myself around a group of girlfriends who, when I shared a success, saw me as a threat, and when I would share something I was struggling with, saw me as somebody to walk over. And I was kind of like this, like, you tell me who you need me to be so that I could be someone that you'll let be in your life. It was just like, for the first time ever, like, where do I go? And I was lost, and I was alone, and I didn't know my place in the world and what I was meant to do or how I was meant to do it. And when I met Alexis at that party about a year and a half later, she so graciously shared with me where she was coming from. She had just had this epiphany, and she shared with me that when she was growing up, she never thought she was enough. She grew up really poor in a really wealthy neighborhood and dyslexic in a really competitive school system, and made this checklist of what the world says matters, the perfect boyfriend and the perfect zip code and the perfect grades and the perfect body. And she systematically went out and checked off all of the items on that checklist until one day she found herself on her knees, hysterical crying, because she had never felt more alone and she had never felt more insecure. And as she's telling me this story, I'm like recognizing myself in her, and we started talking and asking questions about, you know, why. We started asking the question, why? We found this community within each other immediately. And the conversation went deeper than any conversation I had had yet. What if we could live in a world where the pressures and expectations of society were not a thing, where they didn't hold us down? What if we could take off the persona of who we think we're supposed to be and just be who we are? What would it be like to wake up in the morning and just feel whole and happy and enough? And what would it take to start the 21st century women's movement? Which was the question that blew my mind and lit me up from the inside out. And we were talking about what it would look like. And the 21st century women's movement looks like a girl who is strong and smart and sexy, and she's bold and she's beautiful, and she's fierce and she's feminine, and she's these things that used to be mutually exclusive, but now we own all of it. And so this conversation, I was like, oh my God, I was like alive for the first time ever. I'm like, yes, whatever, let's go. you saw an Emily-shaped hole in the wall from the acting industry. And I was like, whatever this is, I'm in, let's do it. And so if we were having these conversations, there had to be more people who wanted to have these conversations. So the plan was to start an interactive online magazine where we would put up topics of all things relevant to what it means to be a 21st century girl, and we would do it from the perspectives of all walks of life. So we wrote a Craigslist ad, and Lex, in all of her articulation, is writing this Craigslist ad, and I'm all over her shoulder like, yeah, and talk about that other thing. And she's like, what are we gonna do about it? It was this credo and battle cry, and we were like, send, or whatever you do on Craigslist. And we went to sleep, and when we woke up the next morning, there was 300 applications. Wow. Whoa. Much bigger than us. One of those, like, okay, we actually now have to go do this because this is actually something that matters. And so we brought on 23 interns, and we had these company meetings out of our apartment, and they would last 3 hours, and we would talk about what's going on in the world and what's going on in our personal lives and what are we gonna do about it. And these people would, like, I swear, I joke, they'd sprout wings and fly out the door because they were starving for this substance. And we were all craving this connectivity and this honesty, and it was amazing. And Alexis and I were like, we can't just stay here. Like, we have to go do this everywhere. So we went out and we spoke to everyone and anyone that would listen. It turned into 100,000 girls in about 3.5 years. And we spoke about the universal struggle that we're all going through. And at the time, nobody was saying out loud. And sometimes we still don't say these things out loud. And we painted a picture of how it could be if we collaborated instead of competed. And if we contributed a little bit more and consumed a little bit less. And the reactions from these girls were visceral, and they would line up and they would wait for hours to tell us their stories. Some of these stories of girls who had an eating disorder their entire life and never said anything out loud and now felt like they had the courage to go get help. One that stands out in particular is a little girl who was being raped by her older brother and never said anything to anyone before. And all of a sudden, because she had this community and someone painted a picture of how it could be, she had the courage to go prosecute. And then we later found out that it was 3 generations of rape in her family, and none of them had ever said anything. And all of a sudden, it was this like new possibility. And then you have the girl who was like me, who was just floundering and wandering and not fulfilling my potential, and my potential is arguably impacting so far 100,000 lives. And across the board, it was the realization that our self-worth is the root of our mental and emotional and physical well-being. And we were in an epidemic of self-doubt. And what were we going to do about it? So one not so ordinary day, the White House called, and they had heard about what we were up to. We were talking about media. We figured if there's 3,000 messages telling a girl every single day attacking what she's not instead of celebrating what she is, we had to utilize the most influential tool we had to make an impact. And this term healthy media has been thrown out, and we were talking about what we can do. How can we infiltrate the system and make it smart and sexy? And we went back to all of these different things. How can we make it equally as compelling, but that had a heart and a soul and that was thought-provoking? And they said, come to the White House and talk to us about what you're doing. And we said, can we bring 13 of our closest and most influential friends? And they said, yes. And so we spoke about it. And from there, we launched our first healthy media campaign called That Girl Rocks. And it's the video that you see when you go to our website. And it gave people an opportunity, men and women, amen to the men in this room, to tell us a story about a girl in their life who rocks. So today, I Am That Girl does 3 things. We build community, we build local community, we build online community. Locally, we have chapters, we have events. Online, we have our social media platform and our content. We create and we curate content, both written and video. There are a lot of people out there doing a lot of great things that are already healthy, so we could stamp our approval on it. And the third thing is we're rolling out this educational platform that we're really excited about so that people could put into practice the ideals of what I Am That Girl stands for. And this educational platform is something that we are very excited about infiltrating school systems and conferences and companies. And And so now we kind of have this ability and beautiful responsibility to love each other and to love ourselves back to life, because we're dying. And we can do this. This isn't some far off goal. It's something that we can do if we just see each other, and if we just listen to each other, and if we just see ourselves, and if we wake up in the morning and look in the mirror and look past what our face looks like. It's profound and it's beautiful. And I want to end with a little tradition that I Am That Girl has. Before every meeting, before every local chapter meeting, we go around the room and we say, I'm a badass because. And obviously we don't have the time to have all of you do it, although I really want to. I would love to share with you guys why I'm a badass today. And I would love for you to come up with whatever your answer is today and share it with somebody or share it with me. Today I'm a badass because I'm a champion of truth, and I am a work in progress, and I am lost, and I am found, and I am miserable, and I am ecstatic, and I am afraid and alone and powerful and flawed, and 'cause I'm here on this stage with you. Thank you.
Any questions? All right.
What can people do to get involved with Fine?
They could donate money. They could find us someone who wants to fund our programming. We are bursting at the seams. We have one of those. It's not if you build it, they will come. It's they have come, build it, build more. So we are bursting at the seams to grow, and we have all of this incredible strategy in line to build our programs to be more powerful. And we need funding. We're looking for $500,000 this year. So help, please. It's really, really important. And everything's in line to take that money and do incredible things. We impacted 100,000 to idiots not knowing what we were doing. In the loving way, we were, yes, sir.
If you have 100,000 members, then what keeps them from donating $10?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. If we have 100,000 members, what keeps them from donating, right? Everyone donate $1, you have $100,000. Brilliant. What we found is that, you know, if you're an organization that's trying to help Africa, you could find a community here who gets on board to help Africa. Our community are the girls that we're serving, so it's this weird psychological thing that they don't feel drawn and connected to donating to themselves, which that's what we found, because we thought the same exact thing. We're like, oh, we could monetize this easily. And there's probably more steps that we can do to get there, try to be creative with it. But it's a little bit of a unique situation that the community is also who we're serving. And so we want to be able to provide our programming to them at no cost and really not bug them for fundraising, and have some people who understand the importance of it to be able to come in and fund it for them. Thank you for asking that. Thank you.